Welcome back to Spotlight, where we feature the University of Central Arkansas's College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. I'm Donna Lampkin-Stevens, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Dr. Paige Rose, who before 2020 and the pandemic and the reconfiguration was my friend, music professor and department chair of music. So welcome, Paige, back to Spotlight.
Thanks.
It's been a long time.
It's great to be back.
So, Paige, you've moved into a new role. You are the new Associate Dean. You joined Gail Seymour as the Associate Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. So tell me a little bit about how that's going.
Well, it's been great. I am fortunate to work with Dean Tom Williams and also, as you said, Associate Dean Gail Seymour. They've made it such a comfortable environment, and my favorite part is just really getting to collaborate with them and promote our 10 great programs that are under the umbrella of CAHSS. So I'm a fan of all these programs, even before this position, and so learning more about them is really just a great way to start every day. Every day is different. There's some, of course, staples in the day, like classes and certain responsibilities, but there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of spontaneity along the way.
Well, let's go back a little bit to your story. Now, you got to UCA when? You're from Louisiana, or you came from Louisiana?
I did. I went to school at LSU, which is something I don't say too often, too out loud here. But yes, I came from LSU, and this was my first collegiate job. And
what year?
2006, and UCA and Conway have felt like home ever since. So I'm going into year 16, I guess, here soon.
Wow. So you came up the ranks, got tenure in the music department. You were music ed, right?
That's right, music education. So I had a lot of years of teaching how to be a band director, how to be an elementary teacher, and supervising internships. I was lucky along the way to work with the Honors College and several students who were doing thesis projects, research projects, and of course a graduate program that's really taken off, and we're offering more and more things via distance or online. It's not fully online yet, but we are, in that time, we're really reaching out to a lot of the teachers that were coming back and wanting to get a master's degree in music education.
Great. And you do have experience as a high school band director, am I right?
That's right. Oh, it seems like forever now, but I spent 7 years in high school and teaching fine arts and band, yes, in Louisiana. And then when I went back to school for a master's and a PhD, I spent a little time with younger students in elementary and junior high ages in part-time jobs while I was getting those degrees.
So what did you want to do? I mean, you graduated with your bachelor's degree from McNeese, is that right?
Bachelor's from LSU.
From LSU.
And I think at the time, like so many people, I thought, well, I'm going to go out there and be the best band director I can be. And of course, we all try to do that. But at some point, I thought, I really, really want to go back and learn more. And when I did, I went to McNeese and I took a class that really...
For your master's.
Right, for my master's, sorry. And that really inspired me to do research and to write.
Which was new.
It was an introduction to research class. And the topic I really came away with in that class was sort of a slant on history and music merging together and putting it in the classroom now. And what ended up being my first published manuscript was the Freedom Singers of the Civil Rights Movement. And so it was a little bit of a history project, so to speak, but it was also talking about putting that at the forefront of some of the things we teach so that we're being socially responsive educators in what we do.
So at that point, did you want to, you decided that you wanted to teach in the college level?
I think I was beginning to think I wanted to go into music history a little bit, music history, music education, and that led me back to LSU. And it was there that I fell in love, I would say, with college teaching. As a graduate assistant, I was afforded the opportunity to teach some of those classes, and unfortunately for one of my professors who had gotten really sick, I needed to take over for her. But the great part about that was she ended up being okay. But I pretty much was the instructor for that semester on a couple of key classes and loved everything about it. And then I knew without a doubt that that's where I was headed, was to a university environment.
So your life changed and you had just a shift. So you came here and you got tenure and you worked with our friend Ryan Fisher.
That's right.
Former host of Spotlight a long time ago. So
sure.
And so how did you wind up in administration?
Well, and it's pretty funny too, because he and I, even though he's at the University of Memphis now, we're both associate deans. So it's funny how that happens. I think we both had a lot of leadership coming through the ranks. First of all, starting with just organizing a lot of people when we taught in the K through 12 environment. And then we both had some leadership experience in our Arkansas State Music Association, which is ARC-MEA. And leading those teachers helped us both, I think, hone those skills. During my time, we had some legislation that threatened to sort of invade how and what we taught at what levels of K through 12 music. And so we spent a lot of time being very close to the political environment and, lobbying and advocating for music in the schools. Took many trips to Washington, D.C., talked with legislators there on advocacy days that our national association hosted. And I remember one year Ryan and I both, I was president, he was vice president of that organization, and we were given the Advocacy Award out of all 50 states for Arkansas. So I think it was that really led me to think about administration, and I was actually considering applying for some department chair jobs when the department chair opened up in music here at UCA.
And that was?
That was in 2014, and I was lucky enough to be there for 5 years and went back to faculty for just a short time before this job opened up.
And so in the middle of all this, our colleges combined, from the old College of Fine Arts and Communication with the old College of Liberal Arts. So talk a little bit about, as an old CFAC member, what were your fears, what did you think could be really good with this combination? I mean, what was your reaction?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have a running joke that if you say the old CFAC or CLA, you have to pay a fine. So,
oh, sorry.
So we're going to owe money now. But no, it's been really neat to combine those areas, because I think there has been certain fears in the past that we don't know each other's programs as well as we could.
And this is part of what we're doing.
But that's the exciting part, too, is there are so many opportunities for collaboration and things that we have yet to explore, and we're just now sort of skimming the surface of it. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do, I haven't shared this with you yet, but we're hoping to do a college night that is going to bring people together sort of in a way that we don't have to force certain interdisciplinary connections or themes, but that we all have a take on similar topics that reside in the back of our minds. And I've reached out to many of the chairs, which, by the way, I've enjoyed getting to know all the chairs and directors of the 10 areas, and I'm making my way around slowly to get some one-on-one time with them. And I've ran those down with almost everyone about a night that would really showcase our variety, because as different as we are, I think that's something we celebrate. We don't think about it in terms of, well, music is not like, sociology, or criminology is not like art and design. I think we look at what we do have in common, and we celebrate that and learn from each other. And I think a night where we showcase that is going to be great, and it's going to be great for our students, our colleagues, our faculty, and just try to bring us all together more as one very big college.
And we've done this in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, we couldn't have foreseen that all that was going to happen.
That's right. And with the pandemic, I think we have not had as many opportunities to showcase things, of course.
To even see each other.
That's right. And so I'm hoping something like this will also give our students and our faculty, especially junior faculty, grad students, a chance to present or perform or exhibit, or whatever the verb may be, for the whole community and our college.
Great. So, and again, I'll pay the fine, but
yes.
So Peter Mell was the associate dean of the old CLA, and he retired just as we were coming together, I think.
I think so.
And then the pandemic hit, and then so the ability to get another associate dean just sort of fell in our laps late last summer. So talk about that process.
Right. I think it was pretty late in the spring that we heard about this, and it was probably very well needed because, as you said, everyone had combined these 10 units into one college. A lot of events, a lot of programs, a lot of faculty and travel, and really we haven't experienced that first quote-unquote typical normal year as a college. And when we do, I think there's going to be just a snowball effect of more and more happening. So we're fortunate that we have 2 associate deans and then some personnel in the office, and it really makes our work so much easier because we are bringing in artists in residence almost weekly. There's a lot of logistics, there's a lot of planning, and of course committees and meetings.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes that invisible work takes the bulk of our days, but that's part of what makes things flow well in an academic environment. So Dr. Seymour has been in charge of artists in residence for years. What role, did you take some of Peter's old, how did we come up? What's the job description, I guess? Well, the job description, I think, was a little bit, there was room for flexibility depending on what the person came in with. And one of the main things that was put out there at the forefront was really promoting a lot of the activities. So I am doing a lot of social media, but with the idea...
Give the tags.
Right, but with the idea that visibility is going to lead us to a lot more than just posts on social media. It's going to be key to recruitment, to retention, to reaching our students and even our colleagues that are here, because so many of us have felt isolated with the pandemic, and now there's the opportunity to bring in the community into the fold by letting them know what we're doing. So the possibilities there are pretty much endless. So we are posting on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I have a great little team that we get together and compile information with Hannah Hanshaw, who also works in our office, and Liz Taylor McMullen. So the 3 of us really have headed up that and are putting the information out there on social media. So that's one thing that I think is going to quote unquote take us places as we do more and more post-pandemic, if that's an appropriate term to use. Sure. Aside from that, recruitment and retention are really high on my list, and that's where what we talked about, the CAHSS night will come in, and we hope to start that probably in February of 2022 to hit the ground running.
Once a semester, or?
We're thinking maybe 3 times a semester, so that we have a little series in the fall and the spring, and we're still trying to work out details on that, but we're hoping to launch a partnership there with UCA downtown and utilize that space since it's very welcoming to the community and, of course, our campus as well. Aside from that, I am doing some tasks that I think were akin to what Peter Mell was doing, although I did not cross paths with him exactly. I'm working on the Bachelor of General Studies with Dean Williams, and that is really a path forward for a lot of our transfer students or our students who have accumulated 60 hours or more, and they need a pathway to graduate, and perhaps they have interest or they have hours in a couple of different areas, and they really need to formulate that into a plan to graduate. So that Bachelor of General Studies brings those areas together, mixes it with a couple of other classes that are unique to the BGS, as we call it, and then they are able to graduate in a more timely fashion. And I guess it's been something that's been given to CAHSS because we have a lot of the focus areas that we're calling them in the mix, and so it's sort of been born out of our advising center and has become our baby.
Now, so you were hired late in the summer.
That's right.
So you didn't know. So I would think that this has been a sort of a transition semester as far as completing tasks that you had already planned to take on as a music faculty member.
Right, and part of the beauty, I think, of this position is that there is a teaching expectation, and I love that because that still puts us in the center of all the students all the time. So
a typical load will be what?
Will be 1 class teaching, and then 3/4 of the load will be administration. But for this semester, since it was such a late in the game hire, I think I began somewhere along August 11th or so. I would have to look back. It was right before school started, and I had chosen already to keep the class of Music 1000 with me. It's a class where all of our music majors take it for actually 6 semesters, because it's a class that deals with special topics and performances for each other. So there is a lot of content to get through that does not necessarily belong in our other classes, such as...
I don't think I've ever talked to you about this class. Yeah, let's hear about Music 1000. So they stay for 6 semesters?
They stay for 6 semesters, and this is pretty much a common thing at all music programs in the country. Some people call it general recital, recital hour, music recital attendance, but the students really perform for each other, hone their skills, get used to performing in a non-threatening environment, although some would say that makes them plenty nervous just doing that.
I bet.
Every year we have about 100 to 120 in that class, so it's pretty big.
So where do you meet?
We meet in our recital hall in Snow Fine Arts.
Okay.
And since most of the students are not ready to perform the first few weeks, you know, they're just getting back and they're working on things, but they're maybe not performance ready, I take that first part of the semester, and we have a lot of specific content that is not necessarily anywhere else, like how to take care of pianos, which is a science all to itself. Things about various jobs and preparation for their degree recitals. So not only will they be expected to perform throughout the semesters, but they have to have junior and senior recitals. So we talk about that. We have guests that come in and talk about resume building. Sometimes it's just that we have an artist in residence and they're going to present something, such as the case with we've had John Metzger this year that will be in and performing and also taking the time out to talk. Same with Cecilia Lopez, who is a soprano. So it's a great chance for those artists to be just very face-to-face with them and get real about some of the topics of succeeding in the profession. So that's a great chance for, it's just almost could be called the real life class.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I mean, there's a need for a class like that with many of our majors. I mean,
that's right.
In journalism, we're doing real world work while they're here, but it's kind of the same.
Right.
You know, you don't get that kind of
that's right.
experience.
And we also pull aside, especially in this pandemic time, I've pulled aside the freshmen, and we've talked about things that aren't always a given, especially in music, like how much you need to actually practice and how you need to go about securing your accompanist and making sure they have everything they need, because almost all of our students will play with a pianist and collaborate.
So that meets when?
It meets
typically?
On Tuesday and Thursday at 1:40.
For an hour.
For an hour.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And so during the X period.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you're not available for.
That's right. There's so many classes in music, and a lot are, limited hours. The way it works out.
So that will be the class that you keep up.
That's the class I'll keep, and this semester.
You've always taught it?
I have for the past 7 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I've loved it because I literally get to meet every music major.
Yeah.
And then I advise graduate students, so together I basically know every music major, and that's a really neat thing. I am sadly turning over those advising responsibilities to Dr. Ross Allhorn, who's a trumpet professor, and he's doing a great job already. But we've been collaborating this semester as those responsibilities get handed over, because advisors do a lot of that invisible work. You know, they're doing check sheets, double checking against degree works where we see all the progress academically our students make. They're scheduling oral exams, carrying out those oral exams with faculty, and doing advising appointments and collecting records. So it's a sometimes thankless job, and so I'm getting ready to hand over about 30 to 35 music majors to him that are graduate students. And then finally, I'm teaching Music 2211, which is integrating technology into music education.
Okay.
And that was because we had a faculty member who is has had a baby and is doing great and is taking FMLA. So while she's on leave, I'm finishing up her class.
And that's just this fall. So
That's
you'll give
just
that
this
up.
fall.
Okay, she'll be back.
So I was already committed to that and wanted to carry it through, and it's been a great learning experience for me to catch up on my technology, which now I can utilize for this position.
Yeah. So, when you saw the job ad, how did you prepare for your presentation? What were you going to bring to this new position as associate dean?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I did was hit the data a little bit and looked at some of our numbers in terms of how we're doing on retaining students from one year to the next. And by the way, I'm serving on a momentum task force that's pretty much charged with that now. So that happened to be right in line with what I was looking at already. And we really want to make sure that our students have a great first year. We've got some, well-researched formulas for that, and that is called the momentum year because we want to put them in motion to that second year and make sure that we're setting them up for success.
And that's a university-wide.
That's university-wide, right? But looking at our numbers for diversity, and we're doing really well, actually. We can always do better, but
the college is.
The college is, and I think a lot of our programs, we lend ourselves well to many of the subjects that are out there that include diversity. And so we've long known that many of our areas are just sort of, I guess, a really safe spot for talking about and covering these ideas, whether it's sociology or film or communication. So that didn't surprise me, and I want to do more. I want to really bring the students into places they can, just like at that college night, exchange ideas, talk about all types of different topics, whether they're diversity issues or whether they are, hardcore academic things that they're researching, and often the two meld together. So
let's talk a little bit. There are 9 other departments or schools within the college. What are some chances that you can see for collaboration and interdisciplinary work? You mentioned history and music. What do you see? Just dreaming.
Just dreaming. I love an idea that was put forth by a chair who said, there are certain key themes that if you just say it, everybody has a thought or a research in the back of their head, like revolution or, and I think off the top of my head as a music person, I could think of, just scores of things that were written in music for revolution, history obviously, and I think we all have our different takes on what that would be. So I think that's one way that we could collaborate. I know there's been some chatter also about having some themes throughout our campus running, and we all contribute to that. Gail Seymour does so many great projects like the suffrage project, where so many areas gave us a piece of their curriculum, so to speak, of what they study and what they contribute, and it comes together to make this one wonderful piece. And I hope we do more of that as we come upon special anniversaries or themes. The Little Rock 9 was another, where around the time of that anniversary we had so many celebrations, that involved projection mapping with Scott Metter and music with Blake Tyson composing something. And of course history is in the mix of all that.
And by the way, the Little Rock 9 opera is ongoing.
Yes.
It's out of UCA's hands now, but it will finally finally come to fruition soon. So we'll be talking about that.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we can really look at some things, and one thing that we always can look at is there's history themes, of course, from their actual organizations, and tag on to that. But I think there's not really one area that would not have a contribution to make in terms of those.
So, speaking from the music angle, and I know there was some fear that the fine arts might get lost in this big new college. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it has not turned out that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's everybody's fear when you enter something new.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably back and forth, vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
the thought process. But again, I think the excitement trumps that. And I think we're going to see that now that we're able to do more with COVID slowly, hopefully disappearing. I know we'll be with it for a while, but we're able to do more already. And you know, the CSO concerts that are starting to happen, the
Conway Symphony
performances,
Orchestra.
yes, the
Mm-hmm.
performances that are starting to happen on the music side, I think lay testament to that we're coming back. We as a college and all of our areas are going to be coming back with so much more to give because we realize how lucky we are now,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. What challenges do you see, Paige, for us as a new college and also in your role?
Well, and what you had just asked, I think that's the challenge is making everyone feel as though they're not going to be minimized by being in a bigger college. It's hard to come to a table and have a seat at a table where you've got 10 units, 10 academic units, and you used to have, 4 or 6.
It's the largest college or second largest something?
Yes,
Yeah.
and as you know, your area and music also being 2 huge areas in terms of faculty and students, and film has a big growing group. Sociology, criminology, anthropology is huge. And then we have so many specialized programs and little minors and things that are taking off. So I think everybody can be fearful that I'm going to get lost in this mix. But we want to be careful and make sure that everybody has a place at that table and are welcome at that table and are valued and visible and celebrated. So that begins with some of that promotion and that social media, letting people know in the outside what we're doing, celebrating these differences. I love the celebrating of the differences, not just the commonalities, when we are at special events.
Sure. And part of it is getting to know people, like you said. I mean, you've
That's
been here a
right.
long time, but there were a lot of these chairs that you didn't know.
Right, and I'm fortunate to be working with a couple of those. Wendy Lucas in history, we're working on the Momentum Task Force together. And, I've had so many meaningful conversations already with some of our chairs and directors. And so that's helping me realize the needs that they have and the recruitment issues that they may want to tackle. So it's a great time for growth at a time when we're already, large, but we have so many more things that we can do.
Yeah. So, the rest of the semester, the rest of the year, just trying to get to know the role a little bit and get to know people and students and.
That's right. I'm working with the Advising Center again on that BGS, and I think we're going to continue those meetings and committee meetings. There's a couple more committees that lie within the college that I'll be helping with, finishing out these classes and advising and continuing to put us on a path where we have more people following us literally and figuratively on social media and at our events. And we want to make sure that the community knows about all these extra wonderful things like the Baum Gallery on campus, the
New
station
building.
right here, the new building.
Channel
That's
6,
right.
yeah.
That's right. So we're already looking at some things that we can do to celebrate the opening of the Wingate Center, and
Which will be fall 22.
that's right. And I think there'll be probably a soft opening and then an actual move in, and we're going to celebrate it the whole way through. So.
Yeah. Now you were involved in those plans too, right?
Yes, when we started
Yeah.
out, I was lucky enough to be in on those meetings and talk about the first needs of the building and what was going to be included and who was going to be moving over there. And it was a great process, and I left before the final plans were in place, but Stephen Plate has carried that on as department chair in music, and we're looking forward to everything going on over there. Every time I pass, there's more.
Every day I see it. Yeah,
it's growing.
Great. So Paige, before we go, let's hit everybody. Let everybody know the hashtags for where you can find us on social media.
Yeah, well, on social media, it's a College of Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences, and we do have on LinkedIn that exact name as well.
Does it have UCA as part of it?
It does. It's UCACAHSS.
Okay, UCACAHSS everywhere.
Yes.
Facebook,
Yes.
LinkedIn, Instagram, everything.
That's right.
Okay, there's a lot to keep up with.
There is a lot to keep up with.
Well, Paige, I'm thrilled to have you back on Spotlight, and we will be talking more and more as this new college grows and evolves, and I think we're in a good place.
I
with
think
good
so
people.
too. We've got great people to work
Yeah,
with.
very good. All right. Join us again next time for Spotlight.